Hey guys, it's Ron and Hope Unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant.
We're doing something that we've never done before.
Yeah.
We were recently a guest on someone else's podcast.
Daniele Hage.
That's the Hages are friends of ours, and she asked us to be on the podcast. Wanted to interview us about our story, which number one we haven't done in some time.
No.
And number two, together we've only done 2 or 3 times. Period.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a first.
Yeah, this is in some way. And she asked questions that nobody's ever asked. So when you ask questions nobody's ever asked, information comes out that we've never told. So because of the nature of it, when we got through, we like, you know what? We need to make this podcast our podcast. And so we're going to show you, it's about 35 or so minutes of this interview. And I think there'll be something in there that you can find that may help you get over a thing or may prevent you from going down a certain path as we get pretty real, raw, and relevant inside of this.
Our testimony, we overcome. You know, a lot of people even ask us, they say, why do you still tell your story? Why do you go back so many years ago? You know, that's 20 years ago, Ron. Can you believe it? When I was 35, that is 20 years ago. But we do it because we want to overcome. We overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, and we do it to help somebody else. There's got to be somebody out there who's struggling in their marriage, who's wanting to give up, who's wanting to file divorce papers. But you know what? Our story has helped so many people. It takes two. One person can't do it. It truly takes two, and I'm so thankful that you are a God-fearing man who loves Jesus.
Well,
more than your ego.
Well,
and you fought for us.
I did.
You did.
I did. And it was a difficult fight, but here we are. I want you to see this thing. We've never done this before. And we didn't even ask their permission if we could do it. We're just going to show it. So anyway, enjoy this. Comment, like, share, download. We need you to do all of these things because it helps us do what we do at a higher level and get it to more people. Love you guys. Enjoy.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daniele Hage podcast, where we talk about everything that has to do with relationships. And today I am so excited to welcome Pastor Ron and Hope Carpenter. They did pastor in South Carolina. Actually, they're both, right?
Yep,
you pastor in South Carolina, and now you pastor also in Northern California in San Jose. And they have a TV ministry. They have a weekly podcast, which I love the title. It's called Unfiltered, Real, Raw, and Relevant. I love that. And the thing that I appreciate about you two so much is that you are so real and so raw. I just love that because everybody can relate to realness. Nobody can relate to perfection.
That's right.
And so Hope she is also an author, and she wrote The Most Beautiful Disaster. This was her debut book. Very, very good. I read this a couple of years ago. And then just most recently, she has also just written a book called If You Don't Fight, You Don't Win. Also very good. I haven't finished it, but I've been listening to it and browsing through it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations on having over 100,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel. That's amazing.
That's amazing. This one.
No, that's pretty good.
This one.
We did it together.
You guys are doing great. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into this, and because I think people, they want to hear the real and the raw, and I know I do too. So first of all, I love history sharing. I love starting from the beginning. I want you to tell us how you guys met. Wait, first of all, you've been married
34 years next month.
34 years next month. Awesome. Congratulations
on that.
God, that
makes you feel so old when you say that.
I know.
Like, oh my God, I feel like I should only be
Well, we got married 34. When we were 11.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
And did you guys meet in high school or college?
Nope. Go ahead, Ron.
You want to tell it?
No, you tell the flowery, exaggerated version.
I tell the evangelistic version?
We'll let you do it. Okay.
Well, first of all, I'm sorry we got started a little late on the podcast. It was very hard to get Hope ready this morning and get her here, so we're a little bit behind. But anyway,
crazy.
Sure, it's her fault.
Anyway, I was a church boy and then kind of rebelled against that. Loved my dad, but did not love his life. I didn't love his life. I didn't like the glass house. I didn't like any of that. So I kind of went wayward, to say the least, and went my own way. Got a college basketball scholarship because we were extremely poor. We didn't have any money for college. And when I got there, I really had an experience with God that revolutionized my life. Some people, get saved. I mean, I got converted. I got up from that experience and did a 180. I mean, I left these and I left that and I never did this again. I mean, it was a 180 experience in my life. It was revolutionary. And so I was a freshman in college. I went and gave up my scholarship in basketball after 1 year, got me 3 different jobs to put my way through Bible school, entered the Bible college curriculum, and Hope came visiting as a high school senior. They had, I don't know if they still do that today, but they had back then weekends designated for high school seniors to come and visit the schools. So I was a freshman in school. She was a visiting high school senior, and we were at a concert, and I looked down, and this was 1987. This is 1987, and you're around our age, so you know. I looked down, and I saw the biggest cotton candy head of bleach blonde hair I had ever seen in my life. I'm up in the stands. She's sitting on the floor.
And it was high, wasn't it?
She had on a blue sweater dress, and I remember the sweater dress well, and every curve and everything that went with it. I remember all of it.
Boy, I thought you were converted.
And I remember the white hose. I remember the bone-colored shoes, the cow neck. I remember all of it. Yep.
Wow.
So long and short of it is, I told my roommate, I said, I got to look this campus over till I find who that girl is. So we literally, it wasn't a big campus. It was a fairly small community college. And so I just went from dorm to dorm to dorm, community areas, whatever. And finally, you said this is raw, right? Can I be raw? Okay. I'm not going to be a preacher right here. I'm going to be raw. I went and opened the door of this one dormitory. It's called Jackson Hall. And she was leaning over the back of a couch with her backside facing right toward me. And I opened the door and I just stopped. And I told my roommate, I said, if that girl looks half as good when she turns around, I'm going to marry her.
Oh, my gosh.
He really got converted, right?
Listen, but I hadn't been saved long. I was a new convert.
Oh, my God.
I hadn't had my mind renewed and all that. So anyway.
He was still a boy.
I went over there and
you were screaming.
She sat down on the couch and I grabbed her hand, got down on one knee and introduced myself.
Rico Suave.
And the next day, and I'm going to give you the quick version here, we got up, she wanted to drive my car. I had a little sports car. I didn't let anybody drive that car ever. And
but I knew that was the way to his heart. So I said, if I can get in his car.
So tell her what's happening. You asked me if I had a girlfriend. I told you no.
I did. I wanted to know if he had a girlfriend. He said, absolutely not. He lied. And so he wasn't that converted again. And so I'm driving the car and we're going over a hill.
We're going out of the entranceway to the campus.
And this car's coming toward us and the person in the car is just waving like this. And so what do? I'm driving. I just wave. And then I see Ron just kind of crouch down.
Oh my gosh.
Come to find out it was his girlfriend.
So Hope's driving my car and we're leaving the campus and Hope is in the driver's seat of my car waving at my girlfriend.
They didn't last long.
So
Here we are.
The relationship didn't last long.
Yeah.
She went away for the summer, actually dated another boy.
Yep. Because you never called.
And came back. And I told my guys, I said, I'm going to walk around and see if I can find that girl that was here about 6 months ago. And I went and I found her. And this is the funniest thing. She had a wall like a shrine built to this guy. It was pictures from top to bottom with this guy she had dated all summer. I didn't say anything. I just looked around and I'm like, well, okay, I guess this isn't going to happen.
Well, you lose.
And
you
then,
never called.
But then I tell her what you told me when I asked about the wall.
He did. Because I had told my mom, I said, I hope that Ron Carpenter is dating somebody. I said, because if he's not, I'm going to have to break up with this guy because I really felt something in my heart when we met.
You were 17.
It didn't matter. Here we are. Look at us. It was God.
Oh my gosh.
And so when we got there and he came to my room, I was like, oh, no. So I ran after him and I was like, oh, that was the guy I dated this summer. acted like, I'm not dating him anymore.
Yeah.
So we worked through all that. We started dating 3 weeks later.
Which wasn't totally honest.
No. It
Okay.
wasn't. I just paid you back.
So we both had to get a little sanctified. That we weren't quite on the up and up. But the fact is, it was about literally a matter of weeks after that. Man, I just turned my heart loose. I was smitten. I was so desperately, deeply in love. And we were pretty much that couple for 3 years that made everybody go,
yeah.
Because we couldn't keep our hands off each other.
Yeah.
It was just an amazing time.
Okay, so now you, in one of your podcasts, you talk about dating responsibly. And this is kind of mind-blowing, but you said you dated way too long.
Yeah.
And you said that you dated, was it 3 or 4 years before you actually got
A little
married?
over 3.
And you never had sex.
No.
That's amazing. That is amazing that you held out.
I don't even know if amazing is the word, Danielle.
I think it's more like torment.
torture.
Yeah, torment.
Yes.
Is more like what it
Yes,
was.
because we really wanted to do it right. We had other relationships, prior that were not done right, and we knew
We were serious about our relationship with God.
and we loved the Lord.
we loved the
really
Lord.
made a commitment, and we were like, let's really try to not have sex.
It was
and
extremely difficult. It was
that is
extremely
hard.
difficult. And on the raw side, we would have moments where when she would visit me at my house on the weekends or something like
you
that,
couldn't keep
where
your hands off
where
me.
we crossed the line, and tell her what I would do all night long.
He would pray all night long,
Yep.
and then try to make me feel guilty. He'd be like, "Are you not going to pray all night long?" No.
I just, if we crossed any of our boundaries, I would feel so bad. I came from a holiness church. God's going to get you.
Yeah.
And so I would stay up literally for hours praying if I felt like we did anything wasn't right. But somehow or another, by the grace of God, we were teenagers, we were early 20s, and we saw each other for every day for over 3 years, but we did not cross that line.
No.
Gosh. Well, I admire that.
I begged him to kneel several times, but he wouldn't do it.
But that is major discipline. Major discipline. It really is. And good to know that it can be done.
Yeah.
For those out there who say that it's not possible, it is possible. It can be done.
It is possible.
So now you're married. How long into marriage before the infidelity showed up?
Well, we married at I was 21, you were 20, fixing to be 22.
Fixing to be 22.
And in this book, The Most Beautiful Disaster, we don't have time in the podcast, but it chronicles all of that. My downfall, my falling apart, and then the most beautiful part is God putting my life back together. And it's really a powerful story. But I had been through a lot prior to Ron. I was raised in
that was not revealed.
Yes, I was raised in a very strict home, and they called it strict, but today would be abusive. And the blood running down your legs, being punched across a room, your face being clawed off, and it was very traumatic.
And this is a Christian home.
Yes,
you're raised in a Christian home.
Yes, and that's really hard to reconcile in your mind. That this is Christian. We're doing this because we love the Lord. We're strict. We don't want you to be like the other girls. And so I thought when I married Ron that just by changing my last name and changing my address, that all that was going to poof go away. And come to find out, about 35 years old, it was just a buildup. It did not go away. It was just boiling on the inside of me, that anxiety, that trauma, the feeling of living under everybody's thumb, never having a say. Not that Ron didn't give me a say, but, the enemy will use any situation, a perfect storm, to represent your dad, to make it feel like you're still living at home under these restrictions. And it was just a time in my life at 35 that the top blew for me. I just remember looking at Ron saying, I can't live like this anymore. I didn't know what that meant. I did not understand even why I was feeling, because nobody talked about counseling, Danielle, back then. Nobody talked about, childhood trauma. Nobody talked about that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, you were told what happens in this house stays in this house. You don't talk about anything.
And if you're a Christian, you don't go to counseling because Jesus is your counselor.
Yeah, you go to the altar.
You go to the altar.
From the Word of God. Because I remember even my dad who got converted after I got converted later on. And he was so like, no, counseling is of the devil. You don't need that. And I always thought, why? Why not ask for help? Why not get a therapist, a professional's input? But anyway, continue.
Yeah.
So yes.
So at
you couldn't go to
35,
counseling.
yeah, my top just blew. And I just, after much counseling now and therapy, I have realized that what was happening to me at 35 was what they call individuation, is what happens, we're supposed to happen when you're 12, 13, 14 in the safety of your parents' home, where you touch your fingers to the stove, so to speak, and you get burned and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that again. I've learned my lesson. I was never granted those permissions to go to sock hops and go to dances or sleepovers and that type of thing. And if I did, I had to jump through 100 hoops and perform all the straight A's and never be late. And it was just a very strict, traumatic upbringing. And so at 35, I woke up and said, I can't live like this anymore. And I just made some, we giggle about it now. I started doing a few things. I went out and bought a bikini bathing suit. Ooh.
You sinner.
Just sinner. And I went and bought 3 secular CDs. Ooh, a real sinner, and listened to them. And I bought a 6-pack of beer and drank them all. So now I'm going to hell on a slip and slide. But those few decisions veering off just a little just kept going down a path, and it took me further than I ever dreamed I would go. Started running with friends I never should have been with, letting off the steam, going to places I shouldn't be, unfaithful to my husband. Never dreamed I would do that. I loved my husband. I was just a miserable human. I loved the Lord. And that was even double whammy on me, because I loved God. I know I'm doing this. So it actually made me worse. So it was like 9 years of a double life that collapsed. I just collapsed in 2013. And that's what this is. To the world, it was a terrible disaster. It was it went worldwide. The news went worldwide, didn't it? I think we were like the number 3 story. It's awful to say that in the Christian world, that we capitalize on people's pain and downfalls. But to the world, it was terrible.
Let me interrupt real quick. 1 second. I just want to know right there, in those 9 years where you were going down the wrong road, Ron, where were you? What was happening with you? Did you see it? Did you notice it? Did you ever confront anything, or where were you?
Unbridled misery. Unbridled misery, anxiety, my chest about to bust, knowing something was going on, didn't know what. We had the most amazing courtship. We were crazy in love, and she just
crumbled.
She just became this other person.
Wow.
And I confronted her 1,000 times, but those didn't lead anywhere. They just usually ended up in a huge fight and made it worse. Because she was not backing down with the path that she was going down. So at that time, you either call it quits and you have this whole set of problems, or either you try to make it work and you have a whole different set of problems. And so I just went to work on trying to hold our life together, trying to buffer her. We had an extremely large church, extremely large ministry in an extremely small city. And there was a tremendous amount of turmoil. I knew, would you say I'm a strong guy? I tend to be kind of raised like a tough guy type. I'm a man's man type guy.
Yeah.
I knew from the time I met her, there was something about her that was vulnerable. I didn't know what that was. I don't ask me if prophetic insight, psychological, I don't know. But I just knew, and I have a lot of protective instincts. And there was something about that made me want to protect her.
Yeah.
Because I just knew there was something cracked somewhere.
Well, you knew the family dynamic.
I knew the family dynamic, but this describes a rape, and this describes a lot of other things. And Hope says, we had a million talks. We sat beside riverbeds and talked for 3 years, for hours. And those things never came up.
Because we weren't having sex. We had to talk, Danielle.
So, these issues, I was never told about them, which are extremely traumatic issues. And because she would tell me, she knew I was a preacher boy. She didn't want me to think bad or this and that and other. So,
that was part of my problem. I was raised in that perfection home.
Yeah.
Everything had to be perfect. So I could not let him know anything was wrong with me, that I'd done anything wrong or anything bad had happened to me.
Yeah. So, I knew there was something, but when she started spiraling down, it was a very fast, very aggressive process. I mean, the friends, the clothes, the activities, she'd disappear. Sometimes she'd just disappear.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'd get a call. Where are you at? And I'm in Atlanta. I mean, it was nuts. And, on her side, she details how the grace of God brought her back. On my side, all I can say, it was grace. I just survived it. I didn't thrive through it.
No.
I survived it. And it was very difficult creating a buffer between her and the people. I didn't want the people to see what she was going through.
Right. Well, Hope,
and that was hard.
During that time, Hope, were you thinking maybe you wanted out of the marriage, out of the ministry?
Yeah, you did.
I think the enemy would lie to me to tell me that, that it would be easier, it's less painful, it's less stressful. And that's what the enemy does. That's what a stronghold is. It's a lie that you've taken to be the truth. So he wanted to destroy our marriage. He wanted to destroy the ministry. So yes, he would put those thoughts in my head, but I never acted on it because I did love my husband at my core.
Yeah.
I loved my family. I knew I was called to ministry. I was just in a horrible, vexing state.
Right. So when it all came out, okay, did it come out because I think I read that you, Hope, confessed it to Ron?
Yes. Well, it had gotten to a very bad place. It had gotten very toxic. It had gotten very life or death almost in my situation. And some situations had happened to where I just came to Ron. I was like, I can't hold this anymore. Things were coming out. He was finding out things. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to come to him. I'm going to just put it all on the table. We got everything out on the table. And I thought, with Ron's such a sweet guy. I mean, he's like a big teddy bear. And I knew he'd been praying for me. And I thought, well, this is going to be God's answer for both of us. And he's going to wrap me up and he's going to, fix all this for me. And he said, you got 30 minutes, get your stuff, get out. And he had just had it.
I was exhausted.
He had just had it.
I was exhausted.
Right.
You can't imagine 10 years of that kind of tension in your home. 10 years of not knowing if she's coming home. 10 years. Some people like, man, you really reacted strong on that. No, I mean, this had been going on a long time. And it wasn't that I didn't love Hope. It was that I am going into protection mode. I'm trying to protect myself from further pain.
Sure.
I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so Ron, I want to ask you, because I think I could be wrong on the statistics, but I think it's somewhere between 1% and 3%, between 1% and 3% of men will stay in a marriage when the wife has committed adultery. And there's lots more women that will stay, but not very men. Okay, a very, very small amount of men will stay. And here you are, successful in ministry, totally respected, a very powerful man. How did you stay? How have you stayed?
It was a lot of factors. And that's the way I had to think. I wish I could give you this, write my book and just tell you it was this beautiful love story, but it wasn't. I was devastated at the news that came out. I was gutted. I didn't even know I could feel such pain. I can't even describe it. But we were separated for, weeks. Here I am in this big old house that we bought together, we built together. I'm alone. My kids, basically, except my daughter, are grown. And she's in her last year or two of high school, and she's got friends. We had one grandbaby. I didn't want to be the guy where my kids had to go to 4 Thanksgivings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And see, I thought about those things. Another thing, I love hard. I don't think, Danielle, I don't think I'm a normal guy. I see these guys that, divorce or lose somebody, and they got somebody else waiting in the wing before they get their mate's body and cooled off and in the ground. I looked at friends of mine I would talk to, and I say, what I gave Hope, I don't know that I have two of them. I didn't hold nothing back from her.
Yeah.
I gave all of me to her. I couldn't imagine, I would think of these things in my mind. I didn't want the church to walk with us through a nasty public divorce. So all these things in my mind helped me stack up an argument that I need to try to work this out. And I'm gonna say something I've only said 2 or 3 times because I hadn't done a lot of interviews. Hope's done 1 million of them. I haven't written a book. I haven't done interviews. Most of the people that were telling me you need to move on and find you somebody that loves you like that, you deserve to be loved, most of them were pastors. My phone was getting blown up by people telling me that. And if I started name dropping, these were very familiar names. And it dawned on me, no wonder that's where we are in the church with such a high divorce rate if that's what the pastors are thinking.
Yeah.
The pastors, man, go on and get you somebody else. It was just like nothing, just drop her and move.
I remember you making one statement. You said, if this doesn't work, if this what I preach every day to my congregation and through all these years, if it doesn't work for me, I need to get out of the ministry. And I think that's the bottom line for him. He is a principled, truly, governed by the Holy Spirit man. He really is. And I believe that's why a lot of men get out is they're not walking the walk, and they're not being led by the Spirit. They're being led by their feelings, their emotions, their grief, whatever, because it is traumatic. I'm not trying to say that it's, gloss over the pain. It's very traumatic. But Ron, on the other hand, is an extremely Spirit-led man, and I'm so grateful for that. If he weren't, we wouldn't be here today.
Right, because the Holy Spirit in you is stronger than your ego. Because
well,
most men's ego
you have to rely on that.
Yeah.
And to show you that my love was still there, I knew that when this story broke, I knew it was going to be hell.
Yeah.
I'd already called in publicists. I'd already called in counsel. I was going to make the announcement to the church. The church was packed. The building held 5,000 people. And I got that, and I got TV cameras everywhere. And even a guy that I brought in to help me PR-wise looked at me right before I stepped on the stage. He said, this is going to be the worst day of your life.
Wow.
It was just awful. The local news, the local talk radio. It was one of those churches where everybody was waiting to see us screw up.
Yeah.
They were waiting to see us screw up. So there were people that our downfall became their entertainment.
Yeah.
And so the long and short of it is I knew the bomb blast was going to be absolutely horrendous. So I got Hope out of there. Even though I wanted her out of my house, we made provision at the place she describes in the book where she went to live in a ministry situation. I don't even call it a ministry house. I don't even know really what they are. They're just unique.
Yeah. It's a lodge in North Carolina where they do retreats, healing the heart retreats, and women's retreats, and men's retreats, and marriage retreats. And they really help people who find themselves in the low part of life. Because
when that happened, when I drew the line, I don't know that Hope was expecting the line to be drawn. But when I drew it, I could see the look in her eyes. She was lost.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going. What am I going to do? And so I called those people and said, you can't be having a bunch of people there while my wife is there. I said, what does it take, for 6 months for you to shut down? And I took our life savings and I just paid this place. Just let Hope be there. Now, later on, other people came in. Just let Hope be there and minister to my wife. And that was another argument, Danielle. My wife found this as a time to really I'm going to find out what's wrong with me, what's broken in me.
I dug in.
Yeah, she dug in, which on the other side, which most people don't do. A lot of people don't do the Ron side, but a lot of people don't do the Hope side either. Right. And I saw her digging in. And here's what I thought. This is just conventional wisdom. I thought, why am I going to put up and live and love the worst part of her? and she's going to go up on that mountain, and God's going to revolutionize her and get her healed.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give the best version of hope to somebody else.
Right. That's a great
No,
point.
if I've been through seed time, I'm going to have harvest time.
Yeah. You've already been through the hell.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've been. It
Why not
can't be
enjoy
any
it?
worse. It can't get any worse. It
That's
can
right.
only go up from where we are.
Yeah.
And that was another thing in my mind. Why am I going to send her off to some other guy?
Yeah.
When wait a minute. I paid the price to have a good life with her.
Yeah.
I went through the brokenness. I loved her, and I covered her while she was doing things, and she didn't even know why she was doing it.
Yeah.
And so the first question you asked me, how did I stay? It was a list of things I was able to make that gave me the ability to stay in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst part for anybody who's done this, I'm going to tell you the most tormenting part. It's not reblending your life. It's not dreaming again. It's not building you, but it's rebuilding trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rebuilding trust is horrible.
Huge. That's
Just
huge.
horrible.
Yeah.
And I have
It's not quick.
I have a
Right.
2-minute version of a story there. When Hope went to this place, they didn't take them. She gave them her car keys, gave them her computer, gave them her phone. She's like, whatever. She's just like, I'm a mess. I'm a broken mess, and whatever I got to do. She just gave it up. Well, that phone is how people sustain relationships. Is through that phone.
Yeah.
So was it a year? 2 years?
It's 2 years.
2 years. She came back home after
9 months.
after about 9 months, and then she started splitting time here and there, and no computer, no phone. She didn't
car.
ask to go anywhere. She's cooking meals, and she seems content for the first time in years. She has a glow about her that I haven't seen. That look in her eyes of anxiety seemed like it was gone. God had really done a work in her life. And I remember one of the most memorable times that we had was after 2 years of her going above and beyond to make me feel peace in my home again. Is I took her out to eat, and I went and bought her an iPhone. And she didn't know it. And while we were having dinner, I pulled it out of a bag. And I mean, my hands were trembling
Wow.
because that was basically me saying, I trust you again.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
both sat there and cried.
We both sat there and
It
wept.
makes me emotional.
Yeah, her hands were shaking, my hands were shaking. It wasn't the phone.
No.
It was the message I was sending with the phone that I'm giving you back the ability to run your life, and I trust you that you will run it well and not hurt me.
Right.
And that was a huge, huge night for us.
Huge. Well, and
And
I
we had a
think
ton. We have a million stories
Yeah.
like that.
I am sure. I know. But I think too, this is one of the things that I'm wondering with you, Ron, is did you realize after all this time that it wasn't personal to you? I mean, it seemed personal to you, very personal, with that your wife did this, but really it was out of her own brokenness, her own issue. It wasn't because you were a bad husband.
Right.
Or you didn't pay attention to her.
Right.
Or, you were, missing in some way or weren't enough. It wasn't personal. And that's what I tried to explain to people that have gone through this. And they are like, it's so personal. I'm like, it's really not. It's
not.
coming out of the person who is, committed the offense. It's coming out of their own
I think he
brokenness, their own
finally did.
issue.
It took a while because, of course, it makes it it's very personal.
It's hard to tell the person that it's done to that it's not.
I know. It is hard.
hard to tell that.
But that is still the truth.
Right.
It is the truth. And I think he has learned over the years, man, it's been how many
11
years?
years ago.
12 years
11
ago.
Wow.
years ago.
Now. So we've come a long way. But,
Yes.
I
think
did.
he
I did
realizes.
through counseling. I had never been through counseling in my life. I came from the Old Holiness Church, the deeply Pentecostal people. If God can't do it at an altar, it can't be done. And literally, I don't even remember a church that I grew up in even ever having any counselors.
Yeah.
And when I decided, to get back in the game, which that's a traumatic love story
is.
that a movie could be made about.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I finally made the decision and called her and said, I'm gonna take a swing at this, and I didn't know if I could do it, but I was gonna try. When I finally got to that place where I was willing to make that decision to get back in the game, I think it was being in the counseling sessions that gave me a picture
A bigger picture.
of how, I can see how this could happen. Yeah, I can see how you take that, you're going to end up right here.
Yeah.
Right.
And so getting a perspective from that setting probably helped me not take it so
Yeah.
personal. It was deeply personal, but
Sure.
at the same time, I realized whoever married her, that same bomb blast was probably going to take place. It wasn't just aimed at me.
Right.
And so, yes, that probably helped me gain perspective, was being in counseling sessions with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. Okay. So let's bring it to present day. Okay. You guys, you seem like you're doing great. But I want to ask, is there something, well, let me ask you this. Because you do a marriage retreat, and I know we're going to wrap it up soon. But you have a marriage retreat that you do every year.
Yes.
Is there, what would you say in your mind is the most common mistake that spouses do in marriage? Like what do you think is the thing that causes the downfall, the disconnect? Is there one thing, or is it a bunch of things?
I don't know if there would be a one thing, but I think to having been married this long, having dealt with so many couples, and especially since we have overcome, in the last 12 years, and being able to help other people overcome, I think the feeling that everything that happened up until I met you doesn't matter and is not going to affect us. That is huge.
Just a lie. That's not true.
It's a lie.
It's not true.
Because you bring everything that you are, everything you've been through, your experiences.
You're marrying that person and everybody and everything connected to them and every experience they've ever walked through. So when I see those young couples, well, we're not going to bring our past into our marriage. I just immediately grind that into powder right off the grid, because that's just not true.
And then here we are with multiple marriages. Nowadays you got people married 2 and 3 times, and then you're bringing all the spiritual aspect of that, blended families, so soul ties, sexual experiences, traumatic events, and people just think, I'm just going to put this over here and it's not going to affect this. It affects everything you think, feel, do, and say.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. So when is your marriage?
Let me ask that question. You say, is it one thing? It's not one thing. It's always several things. But I'm going to tell you one thing I would say is secrets. Secrets are like carrying around plutonium. I have never seen anything good when spouses are carrying around secrets.
And that's kind of like what I said.
Yeah.
Whether it's a secret or you just don't talk about it. You put it over here and don't deal with it.
Yeah.
And that just never goes anywhere good.
Yeah.
And I think there has to be full disclosure in a marriage, and then that brings full accountability. I mean, Hope and I think we are each other's accountability partner. If I feel like something's wrong, I go tell her I feel like something's wrong. Hope can open my phone anytime she wants to and look at anything she wants to, and it's never face down. It's always face up, because now we live a life of full disclosure.
Yep.
Right. And those are great safeguards. They're great safeguards. You're guarding your marriage.
Yep.
Yes. That's really good. It's not that you don't trust each other. You're just saying, hey, we're human.
There's nothing
we're not
to hide.
perfect.
I don't even.
Why?
Yeah, I don't even want them to wonder.
Yeah.
I don't ever want her to have a minute in her life where she's wondering, where's his heart at?
Yeah.
I don't ever want her to feel that feeling.
Right.
And I don't think she ever wants me to feel it again either. So we try to put safeguards in place to make sure that we don't ever cause each other that kind of pain again.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, I so admire both of you. I love how honest and real and authentic you are. I think you guys are making such an impact in the ministry world and the world, just because many couples could not have done what you have done. No. And I think, Ron, it shows your humility as a man and a very God-fearing man, which is so, so respectable. And Hope, the fact that you could come out and talk about it and be so real about it, and because you want to help others. And lots of people have suffered with the same similar things that you've suffered with and not known how to get out of it.
Right.
And so I think that is so beautiful. And Again,
And that's why I wrote that book. And it wasn't
Yes.
to exploit our problem. It was to help people come
Yes.
out of
Yes.
anything that they feel like there's a lid on their life, or they feel like I can't get out of this addiction, or I can't get out of this lifestyle, and I feel trapped in some way. And everybody's is different. We all have our own struggles and our own issues. But this book truly is a tool. It's a pathway.
really
It's a pathway back
to freedom.
It's
Yes.
not,
in your life.
everybody wants to know the nasty, dirty details of everything. It's
No.
not that. It gives you a broad picture of the decline,
Yes. Yeah.
but it
Yes.
is a journey out
Yeah.
of someone who took the road less traveled.
right.
And
it's
then this one is just more power.
Yes.
More power to the punch to help you. You come out, and then you continue to live a life of, if I'm going to get free, or if I'm going to be victorious, or if I'm going to have a great marriage, or lose weight, or become financially independent, whatever it is. If you don't fight, you don't win, because God is not a genie in a bottle, and He's not going to do it for you.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's so good. Okay, so when is your marriage retreat coming up?
It
when
is
and where?
August 8th through the 10th. And
Okay.
this year it's called Power Couple.
We've
we
never
just
done
had
this before.
one.
We've never done-
No, we've never done this one. We've done, we just did
A
one
regular
in
marriage
February
conference,
on the East Coast. And we had, goodness gracious, how many couples? 400 couples?
Wow.
354
Yeah, about
couples.
400 couples. But
That's
this one coming up in August is in Half Moon Bay, and
So
we're
it's much
only
smaller.
taking 50 couples.
Okay.
Because we want to become intimate with them. We want to be able to sit across the table and let them pour and share, and us pour into. And so we're about halfway full. So we got space
Wow.
for about 25 more couples.
That's
So you
awesome.
just go to roncarpenter.com/power couples.
Okay. Wonderful. Excellent. I love it. And this is for anybody.
Anybody.
It's open to anybody, not ministry couples. I mean,
No.
anybody.
Yeah.
Let's sit in a marriage conference, and we're not trying to repair anything. We're trying to build something and make it stronger.
Yes.
Power
That's
couple.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you again for taking the time on
Thank
your day
you,
off.
Danielle.
I so appreciate you guys. I'm honored that you would be here. And especially you, Ron. I know you're a busy man.
It's all right.
And I know this is probably the last thing you'd like to be doing on a Monday on your day off, but I appreciate both of you
Glad
for
to
doing
be
this.
here.
So
Thank you, Danielle. We love you.
Take
Hey,
care.
we love you too.
What a story, huh? I mean, I get emotional still talking about it, because just seeing
Brings up old feelings. and-
I don't get emotional for that way. I don't get emotional bringing up the old feelings. I get emotional at the goodness
It's
of
not
God.
just the negative ones. It's the miracles, and it's the stories, and
Yes.
it's the triumphs, and it's the overcoming, and it's I felt this way this day, and then God did this. So many of the things in
The
there that are
goodness
just
of God.
we've never really told the whole story, because there's so many miracles, and it was such a little over such a long period of
Yeah.
time. But anyway, I hope you got something out of this one. Maybe we haven't done it. We haven't told it a lot anyway. I know we did on Daystar,
Yeah.
maybe one or two other times, not many times, where you got both of us together to hear,
How we process.
how we processed it, and how we tried to overcome together.
And if you
so
haven't gotten this book, if you hadn't gotten The Most Beautiful Disaster,
it can help.
it will really help you to understand us more, to understand our love, why we're so passionate about fighting for marriage. And it is a pathway, it's a tool. If you would love to be mentored, and I have an inner circle where I just pour into people. It's not just women, it's men and women who are in it. We meet twice a month. Go to hopesinnercircle.com and join the inner circle. And if you'd like to come to our marriage retreat, mastering business, life, and ministry, whatever it is in your life that you want to master, it's called a Power Couples Retreat. Go to roncarpenter.com/power couples. It is August 8th through the 10th this year, right around the corner. So you got to get registered.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Love you. We'll see you soon on Ron and Hope Unfiltered, real, raw, and relevant.